Picture this. Your dog is lying on the living room floor. No walk, no fetch, no knock at the door. The house is cool, and yet there they are, tongue out, chest moving fast, panting like they just ran across the yard. You glance over, half notice it, and go back to your phone. 10 minutes later, still panting. Is this nothing or the first sign of something? Most owners think panting simply means their dog is hot. Sometimes that's exactly right. But sometimes it's the first sign your dog is trying to tell you something is wrong, long before the limp, the vomiting, or the collapse that finally sends you to the emergency vet. Both versions can look identical from across the room. Same open mouth, same fast breathing, same lolling tongue. One is completely harmless. The other is a countdown you don't know you're on. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one you're looking at. Welcome to Instin Paws, where we separate dog facts from dog myths. Here's something most owners never think about. Dogs can't sweat the way we do. The person cools down through skin all over the body. Sweat evaporates from the shoulders, the back, the forehead, all at once. A dog only has sweat glands in the paw pads, nowhere near enough surface area to regulate body temperature. Imagine cooling your whole body using only the soles of your feet. So dogs rely on a different system entirely. Air moves quickly across the tongue and upper airway, moisture evaporates off those wet surfaces, and heat leaves the body with it. That's panting, evaporative cooling concentrated into one small area, running at high speed. But here's the part most people don't realize. A resting dog's breathing is fairly slow and steady. Once panting kicks in, that number multiplies many times over, far more than most owners would guess just from watching. That's an entirely different gear, because panting is also how a dog pulls in extra oxygen when the body suddenly needs more. After a hard run, during play, or in a moment of stress, the same way your own breathing quickens after sprinting upstairs. Panting isn't a malfunction. It's a tool the body reaches for on purpose. The real question is whether your dog is using it for a normal reason, or because something underneath is quietly forcing their hand. Most of the time, the explanation is simple, and if you watch for it, you'll notice the same handful of situations repeating. Exercise raises body temperature and oxygen demand, so panting kicks in. After a game of fetch, it usually peaks within the first minute or two, then settles once your dog is resting somewhere cool, with water available. A longer walk works the same way, just on a longer timeline. The panting should taper steadily rather than staying locked at full intensity once you're home. Warm weather works similarly. Even a dog lying still in the sun will pant to offload heat, easing the moment they move into shade. Excitement is another common trigger. The doorbell rings, a favorite person walks in, and suddenly your dog is panting from pure enthusiasm, often with a loose, wiggly body and a wagging tail. Car rides bring out a mix of excitement and mild stress in a lot of dogs, which is why some pant heavily the moment the engine starts and settle once they adjust. Thunderstorms fall into a fourth category. Stress and anxiety can trigger panting too, as part of the body's fight or flight response, priming the muscles with extra oxygen in case they're needed, a reaction that made sense for a wild ancestor bracing to run, and still shows up during a storm or a nerve-wracking vet visit. In every one of these cases, there's a clear trigger you can point to, and the panting fades once that trigger is gone. Here's a mistake that catches out even attentive owners, assuming that if a dog isn't overheated, the panting must be nothing. It's an easy assumption, because heat is the explanation we're taught first, and it's genuinely correct most of the time. But that same assumption is exactly what delays treatment when panting is coming from somewhere else. Pain, a struggling heart, a hormone imbalance. An owner feels the air conditioning running, sees no obvious heat source, and concludes the panting must be nothing, when really they've only ruled out one of several possible causes. The room being cool doesn't mean the body is calm. That single blind spot is why internal problems get caught later than they should. And that's exactly where our countdown begins. Why would a dog pant heavily while lying completely still, hours after any activity, in a cool, quiet house? The answer is rarely, for no reason. There's no walk to blame, no heat, no excitement, nothing to point to. Owners often miss this one because panting feels so ordinary that the timing never registers. You see the open mouth and moving tongue and file it under normal, without asking why it's happening right now. This next category starts subtle and only gets more obvious from here. Panting while a dog is otherwise calm and comfortable is your body's not hot, body's not scared signal, meaning something internal may be driving it instead. Sometimes it's a harmless one-off. But if it becomes a pattern, 2 or 3 times a week with no explanation, it's worth mentioning to your vet. Here's where many owners get caught out. They assume panting only ever means one thing, whether their dog is thrilled or terrified. It doesn't. A dog panting from excitement is loose, relaxed muscles, soft eyes, a wagging tail. A dog panting from anxiety often shows the opposite. Tail tucked, ears pinned back, muscles held tight, maybe pacing between breaths. Picture a dog left alone during a home renovation, panting hard while pacing between rooms, unable to settle. That's distress wearing the same costume as excitement. This kind of panting is a stress response, not a temperature response, and the trigger causing it may keep happening if you don't identify it. This isn't usually an emergency, but if it's frequent or intense, a conversation with your vet or a trainer is worth having. Watch how your dog handles a walk they've done 100 times before. That single comparison tells you more than almost anything else on this list, because it strips away guesswork. If your dog used to comfortably manage a full walk and now taps out a quarter of the way through, panting hard, needing more breaks, that's not just getting older. Owners tend to explain this away in small increments. A shorter walk today because it's warm, another one tomorrow because the dog seemed tired, and each adjustment feels reasonable, so the overall decline never registers as one connected pattern. A noticeable drop in stamina, paired with heavier panting than the activity explains, can point to something working harder behind the scenes: the heart, the lungs, or joints under strain. The key word is noticeable. A little extra huffing on a hot day is nothing, but a real, sustained drop that keeps repeating is different, and it deserves a vet visit rather than just a shorter walk. A stiff hop off the couch. A slight hesitation before the stairs. A tongue out longer than usual, for no reason you can name. On their own, none of these look like much. Together, they can be pain talking through breath, because dogs are remarkably good at hiding it. An instinct left over from wild ancestors, where looking weak made you a target. Panting is one of the few things that leaks through, because it's largely involuntary. Watch for a dog that pants more after getting up from a nap, is stiff in the mornings, or keeps licking one particular joint. This pattern becomes more serious in a younger dog. Trembling, hiding, or a sudden unwillingness to be touched, paired with panting that has no environmental explanation, sometimes after an awkward landing during play. Pain-driven panting often comes with a specific behavior change alongside it, so look for that second clue. Untreated pain rarely stays the same size. Most owners assume the first sign of an internal problem will be something dramatic: vomiting, sudden weight loss. Often, the first sign is something as ordinary as an empty water bowl. This one's easy to miss because it happens gradually, over weeks rather than minutes. If your dog is suddenly drinking noticeably more water, urinating more often, and panting more than usual even at rest, that combination is worth flagging rather than treating as 3 unrelated quirks. It can point toward a hormonal imbalance where the body produces far more stress hormone than it should, often bundled with a change in appetite, a thinning coat, or a rounder, pot-bellied look over time, none of which screams emergency on its own, which is exactly why it gets missed so often. Together, these signs tell a story your vet needs to hear. Here's a test you can run in 10 seconds, right now, without a vet appointment. Lift your dog's lip and look at the gums. Healthy gums are a solid, bubblegum pink. Pale, whitish, or grayish gums can point to reduced blood supply or a low red blood cell count. Bluish or purple gums mean oxygen isn't reaching the body properly, and that needs attention immediately, not after the weekend. Most owners never check their dog's gums unless something's already visibly wrong, which is exactly why this sign gets overlooked. It's not subtle, nobody's looking. Color is one of the most reliable warning signs available because it doesn't require guessing about behavior or waiting for a pattern to repeat. Get in the habit of checking once a month when your dog is healthy, so you know what normal looks like before you ever need to know what wrong looks like. If you've forgotten every other warning sign in this video, remember this next one. A dog's body temperature can climb to dangerous levels much faster than most owners realize once cooling starts to fail. That's what makes this final sign the one you never wait out. This is panting that doesn't ease with rest. Mouth fully open, tongue extended further than usual, sometimes looking swollen, often paired with heavy drooling that soaks the floor beneath them. The dog can't seem to settle, pacing instead of lying down, or lying down and immediately getting back up. Picture a dog left in a parked car for what felt like just a few minutes, now panting relentlessly with a thick, swollen tongue and drool streaming from the mouth. That's exactly how heat stroke often begins, the body signaling that internal temperature is climbing dangerously while every additional minute without action pushes toward organ damage that can become irreversible. If you see this combination, act immediately. This one can become life-threatening very quickly. Move your dog somewhere cool right away and get them to a vet immediately. Don't wait to see if the panting eases first, and treat any weakness, wobbliness, or disorientation alongside it as an equally urgent signal to act now. So what's actually driving all of this? A handful of categories cover almost every case. Heat stroke tops the list, a dangerous rise in body temperature that panting alone can no longer control, once the air is too warm or humid for evaporative cooling to keep up. Pain is another major driver, whether it's arthritis, where inflamed cartilage sends a steady stream of discomfort the body answers with extra panting, or a fresh injury a dog is instinctively protecting. Heart disease forces panting because a struggling heart can't move oxygen efficiently, so the lungs try to compensate, often even at rest. Lung disease works similarly. Anything limiting how well the lungs absorb oxygen, from infection to fluid buildup, pushes the body to breathe harder just to keep up. Certain medications, especially steroids, are a known cause of increased panting. Cushing's disease, a hormone condition where the body produces far too much of its own steroid-like hormone, causes that same panting naturally, often alongside a thinning coat or rounder belly. Kidney disease belongs on this list too, and it's one owners rarely expect. As the kidneys lose their ability to filter waste, the body develops a mild, constant discomfort that shows up as panting long before a blood test would get ordered. Breed matters as well. Flat-faced dogs like bulldogs and pugs have narrower airways by design, so they work harder for every breath. And anemia, a shortage of red blood cells, forces the body to pant to circulate whatever oxygen it has. Each cause has a different fix, which is exactly why guessing at home only gets you so far. Before we get to what you should do, it's worth pausing on where owners tend to go wrong, because most of these mistakes come from good intentions, not carelessness. The first is assuming all panting is normal, simply because it's something dogs do every day. That familiarity is what makes the abnormal version so easy to wave off. The second is waiting too long before calling a vet, watching a concerning sign for weeks, just to see if it goes away, when early attention is almost always easier to treat than a problem that's had time to grow. The third is chalking everything up to old age, a convenient excuse when something more specific and treatable is going on. The fourth is using ice baths on an overheated dog. It feels like the logical fix, but plunging an overheated body into extremely cold water can make blood vessels near the skin constrict, trapping heat deeper inside instead of releasing it. And the fifth is ignoring changes because the dog is still eating. A good appetite feels like proof nothing's wrong, but conditions like early heart disease or Cushing's can sit quietly alongside a normal appetite for a long time before anything else changes. If you suspect your dog is overheating, shade or air conditioning right away, cool wet towels over the body, and airflow from a fan if you have one. Skip the ice bath, for the reason we just covered. For everything else we've covered, it's about pattern recognition rather than emergency action. A clear, one-time explanation just needs monitoring. Panting at rest, at night, worsening over time, or paired with any other sign we've covered is your cue to schedule a vet visit rather than wait. Keep a short note on your phone of when panting happens and what else you noticed alongside it. That small log often helps a vet narrow things down in minutes instead of starting from scratch. And relentless panting paired with a swollen tongue and drooling that won't stop isn't a schedule it for next week situation. That one needs same-day attention. Dogs can't tell us when something feels wrong. They can't describe a dull ache, a tight chest, or a racing heart. All they have are changes in their behavior, their body language, and their breathing, small signals, easy to miss, easy to explain away. Panting is one of the most ordinary things a dog does, which is exactly why it's so easy to overlook the version trying to tell you something different. You don't need to memorize every cause we've covered. What you need is to know what's normal for your own dog, right now, while nothing's wrong. Learning that baseline today could be exactly what helps you recognize a dangerous change tomorrow. And that recognition, more than any checklist, is what actually keeps a dog safe. Next time, we'll look at another everyday behavior that hides more than most owners realize. What your dog's sleeping position is actually telling you about how they feel. Until next time, stay curious and keep listening to what your dog is trying to tell you.